Hey everybody, would you like to start incorporating butterfly inlays in your wood turning projects? And would you like to rescue cracked wood turning blanks from the firewood pile? Stick around and I'll show you my method of making simple templates out of scrap polycarbonate to install butterfly inlays. Let's get started. I've turned this bowl. It's about 13.5. The outside is not sanded yet. I went ahead and did the inside as well to assess these cracks that are in it, and decided that I'll put some butterflies in there. So I just went and kind of drew on a size that I want. I didn't base it on a size of patch that I have. I just kind of drew on there what would look good, and then came back and took an average size with my calipers. Doesn't matter what the dimension is. I'm going to base it on that size, and now I'm going to take you over to my workbench and show you how I make a template to cut that pocket out, as well as the inlays themselves. The way I'm going to make this simple template is to cut out with enough clearance so I end up with the size inlay that I want. And I did some rough calculating, and I don't know if you can see this. When you have your template, it has to be oversized from your actual inlay 0.217, and that's the distance from the bushing part that rides on the template to the inside of the 1/8 inch downcut spiral bit. That's the amount. So what I did was I measured out a piece of paper that was 0.217, cut it with a utility knife. Doesn't have to be that accurate, and I simply went around the inlay that I first drew, and I did that by laying out the length, and then I use this angle device to lay out the actual size of the inlay, which this will be right here. I drew it on there, and then I used this little spacer to get my outside diameter of what size the template actually has to be, and came up with these four corners here, and I center punched them. Doesn't take very long. None of these dimensions have to be super accurate, even if the inlay is slightly out of square, as long as you always keep the relationship of how you cut them out with this template. When you go to cut the pocket to install them, they'll fit beautifully. So that's what I come up with. I'm going to take this over to my drill press. I'm going to drill holes in those corners so I can put it on my scroll saw and cut the outline out as straight as I can. Just a little cleanup filing is all that's required, just in case there's that odd bump that'll throw everything off. You just don't really want any high spots. I could feel a distinct one there where I'd changed directions. That's it. That's all it takes. My workpiece is centered underneath the template and clamped by the little woodworking vise. And I'm going to lower this down until it hits. And then that's already set. That's how thick I want my butterflies. So I'll cut about half depth. And I always start and I go clockwise around, and I start on a pull stroke to myself, because there's no room for error for you to go into the circle. You have to keep it up tight against the template. So it's just a matter of feel and taking your time. It's a bit messy and a bit noisy. All my templates have these two screw holes in there, and this is the way it came in. So what I do is I put a mark up in this corner, a 1, or just a line. It could be an X or whatever. I put a mark up in that corner so that once these are cut out on the bandsaw and I have them in a little cup, you need to put this patch into the pocket in this same orientation. That's the beauty of using the template to cut the pieces, and the template doesn't have to be perfect because it'll fit this way. It may not fit this way, but doesn't matter, it'll fit this way every time. In view, now we finally get to the fun part. I've got my pieces sawed out on the bandsaw, just cut my my little board just deep enough so that they'd come out. They were a little bit messy, and I just take a piece of self-stick 320 grit and dress them up a little bit on the back side, because you don't want anything to be in the way when it's such a tight fit. You need to have a little bit of assurance that it'll go all the way down and make contact with the bottom. So I'm going to make an outline. You can see my original drawing on there. I'm going to make some guidelines on here. Doesn't have to be exact, but that's where I want the center of that is where I want the next patch. So I'm going to put some blue tape on there so that the hot glue does not go into the wood, and just basically tape right up to that. I already have one in there. I got a false start, forgot to turn the camera on. Got that one in there. I just turned the hot glue gun on, and it'll take a minute. So meanwhile, I just take a rough assessment of how it's going to fit on there. That's to one side, because we're placing this on a curved surface. It'll hit on the 2 points of the template at the narrowest waist of the butterfly, but I want to kind of even out that gap right there. So once that glue gun is hot enough, just put some globs in the corner. I'll give that a moment to set up. I like to immediately get that hot glue off of there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to true up the corners with a utility knife. Using Type Bond 2. Type Bond 2 will resist moisture, and it'll also be a little more flexible. I'll also put a little glue on the end grain of this. A little bit on the sides. That isn't going to move now from this point. I'll get some more of these in, and then we'll take a look at the final result. Alright guys, that about wraps up this video, and in closing, the first thing I wanted to mention was the bowl that was in the video in question was from a friend's backyard. It was a tree that he grew up with, and when it had to come down, he saved it and requested I make something out of it, and that's why an extra effort was made to save this wood. They'd cut it and it had cracked in from the ends. It's not uncommon. As a wood turner, you're going to see that all the time. But I think using the butterfly inlays shows that it has some significance. And that's about all I'm going to say on that. I still have to do some filler in there. I might mix up some epoxy and dye and sawdust, and I really want to fill it good and be done with it. But the inlay kit that it happens to be in my little Dewalt plunge router is from Harbor Freight. It was about $8, and you actually get an 1/8 inch down spiral cutting bit, solid carbide. You get the bushing that it's a guide to install this bushing you place in the collet, and then put this into the guide bushing, and when you screw that down, it's hopefully centered. I didn't have any problem in that Dewalt router. It's drilled for that Porter cable type bushing kit. But I did since replace the bit that I originally got. This is I bought 2 of the kits when I was in the store. I have replaced the bit with one from MLCS. And it's good quality material. I haven't had any problems with them. And they also sell the brass router bushing inlay kit and a bit for, it's around $22. It seems like a fantastic price. Polycarbonate material itself, the material I used, and I have quite a bit of it, is .229. I believe you can use thinner. Several years ago, I think I may have bought a piece of this from my local glass shop. But the last time I went in there, a couple of years ago, after COVID got started, my local glass shop was making plastic barriers for every business around. They, were putting barricades in between cashiers and stuff. And when I inquired about getting some of this for free, I was taken out back, and they had so much of this laying around that he gave me a whole bunch of pieces that had angle cuts on them, because I think they didn't want to mess. Once they cut a piece to fit an angled situation, nobody wanted to go back and actually start out from scratch with a piece that had an angle on it. He gave me all I want. I've got a lifetime supply now, so you might check your local glass shop. I think this stuff got really common once COVID hit. So that's about it, guys. I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate all the new subscribers. And if you like the video, please subscribe. Please give it a thumbs up. And it's an encouragement for me to make more content. And hope to see you again. Have a great day.